Warning. I need to preface this story by saying that it is rather gore, so if you are not particularly into that type of content, perhaps you might want to choose a different story. Thank you. This ritual was sent to me by Antarcticite. Are you lonely? Bullied? Find it hard to make friends? Does it feel like you'll never be able to connect with anyone? Well, don't lose hope just yet. What would you do if I told you that there was a way to make a friend who would never leave you, never betray you, and who could protect and support you no matter what? Well, for a small cost, you can have this connection, a bond that can never be broken. This ritual will bring about the death of at least one person, so if you're not prepared or committed enough to go through with this, then maybe find a different way to make friends. But if you are, this is what you must do. Find a person you wish to perform the ritual on. It can be anyone, just keep in mind that you will be spending a lot of time with them if all goes according to plan. So you must be absolutely certain in your choice. You will need to figure out a few things about this person: their name, date of birth, and their parents' names. This information will be vital to perform the next steps correctly. Find a location where you will not be disturbed, away from other people, where any manner of noise and strange sights won't lure in curious passers-by to come and ruin everything. Not only will this disrupt the entire process, it will become extremely dangerous for everyone involved and quite possibly could release a malevolent entity into the world to prey on more innocent people. Suffice to say, it is very important to find a good ritual site because once you start, you must follow through. Stopping midway is not an option. Once you find a good place to perform the ritual, you can proceed with the setup. The items you will need are as follows: a piece of your intended target, for example, a hair or fingernail clipping, a sharp, heavy knife like cleaver, a large paintbrush, 5 large black candles, matches, a sewing needle and thread, and a good amount of salt, and finally, a pencil and paper. Bring all the items to your ritual site at sunset. At this point, you can use an artificial light, like a flashlight if you need to. You are not in any danger yet, but do be careful that you're not followed or leaving too much of a trail. Once you bring all of your supplies to the ritual area, you will need to prepare it for the main event. Place the black candles down in a large 5-pointed star formation. Do not draw the pattern down beneath them. The formation must be large enough to fit a body inside, so be sure you have enough room for this. Once the candles are in place, take out your paper and pencil and write down the full name, date of birth, and the names of their parents in this format. I give you this vessel: person's name, child of, parents' names, who has resided in this mortal plane since, date of birth, and you may take their identity as your own. In return for this offering, you must serve me and only me until this vessel is no more. Swear it now. Once you have written this down on the paper, place the piece of the person on top of the writing and fold it, tying a bit of the thread around the paper to secure the piece inside. Next, take out your salt and create a ring around the outside of the candles, being sure not to leave any gaps. When you're sure that the salt ring is complete, take out your matches and light the paper on fire. Let the fire reach your fingers before throwing it down into the center of the salt ring. If you were successful in finding an entity who is willing to accept your bargain, then the candles will light by themselves and you can continue. If not, then try switching locations. There are plenty of beings who would do anything to inhabit a living body. If the candles light and you are able to continue, you will need to get the person you chose to the ritual site by any means necessary. I'm sure you can come up with something. From this point onward, you absolutely cannot use any form of artificial light. Use only the light from the candles instead. You will need to take your heavy knife or cleaver and separate the person's arms, legs and head from their body, and use the paintbrush to make a ring of their blood outside the ring of salt. Take their limbs and head and place them on the ground next to each candle in the correct anatomical position. Then pick up the torso and throw it into the middle, with the neck facing the candle next to the head and then back on the ground. The candles will flicker for a moment, signaling that whatever entity that accepted your bargain is now present and in the process of inhabiting the torso. Wait until the candle flames have gone back to normal before entering the ring of salt. If you enter too early, then you can run the risk of being possessed yourself, which is not a desirable outcome. Take out your needle and thread and sew the limbs back onto the body, first the right leg, then the left one, the right arm, then the left, and lastly sew the head back on. Nothing will happen at first, but sooner or later the limbs will start to twitch and move, and the face will change expressions rapidly. These movements will progressively get more coordinated until the body is sitting up, and by the time the sun comes up, the entity will have gained full control. Congratulations! You now have a new best friend, who is contractually obligated to stay with you and do as you say, who isn't allowed to leave or betray you. However, you don't know how powerful this entity actually is, so it might be a good idea never to let yourself fall asleep or lose consciousness in the dark. And don't spend too much time with other people, lest your new best friend gets jealous. They might just have to remove those other distractions from your life. Don't you know how rude it is to not spend time with them after all the effort you put in? They are now your best friend, forever.